What's up? Hope you can hear me. I think the mic is on. Just need to go live about this. Obviously, the primaries took place today, and it's truly a shameful day for Kentucky because obviously Thomas Massey lost. Um, so I'm just going live to comment on that. Um, Start the chat. If you're already there. I mean, whoever is in here, say hi if you can, like the video. But yeah, I'm just breaking down this atrocity in a sense. You know, let's see. Thanks for the like, appreciate it. Let me know your thoughts in the live chat. Would love to engage in some conversation about this. Uh, let's see what primaries are today. Okay. May 19th. See, Georgia was today. Kentucky, obviously. Oregon, Pennsylvania. It's 4 states so far. And that's about it. Oregon, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, and Idaho. Uh, and Alabama. Alabama, Arkansas. Let's see what the primary results for today. What's up? Let me know what you're thinking in the chat. This is all about just it being a shameful day for Kentucky. We're about to find out, well, not we're about to find I'm about to find out and relate to everyone. Everyone, obviously. Dude. Ed Gowring. Dude, 45, 54 to 45. That's not that bad. That's a lot better than what Vivek ended up pulling against that Casey guy. What's up? Let me know your thoughts in the chat. Talking about the primaries that happened today. Important one, obviously, because of the state of Kentucky. I'm a native too. Um, if you guys don't know, I interviewed. Not well, I didn't really interview. I was at a town hall in Campbell County in northern Kentucky that Thomas Massey spoke at, and it was cool. It was great. Finally got to meet an elected official, specifically in my district, obviously. So, but yeah, just a shame that the amount of money that his opponent put into not only his campaign but campaigning, against Massey. Let me look it up real quick. Massey uh, mentioned recently how much money did Ed campaign against Massey. Um, $32 million just to just to win against just literally like does voting matter at this point? If you're just gonna dump that much money uh, to campaign for yourself and against someone. I mean, Um, Melissa Strange, you better hope this Democrat that won the primary uh, better fucking win against that Gallery. I mean, I don't even know much about her. Let's look her up real quick. How we doing? How we doing? Let's hear the chat. Talk in the chat, please. Is the chat off or something? All right. Oh, not the green screen. Get that out of here. None. Oh, damn it. Oh, what's up? Let me know your thoughts in the chat. Shameful day in Kentucky going over the primaries right now. Looking up Melissa Strange. Who is Melissa Strange? She's the Democrat who won the primary in Kentucky, so she's going to go against Ed Gowring. Melissa Right Strange. I mean, that's not good for her. With the Thomas More, I want to know her policies. This seems like her first time running in office too. So, um, let me know your thoughts in the chat. If you kept up with the primaries, if you even keep up with politics at all, with the amount of information, with the amount of access people have to information, and at the palm of their hands with their phones, you're kind of blowing it if you're not, keeping up with what's going on, not just in your community, but those who run your community, who are in touch with people who run the world. So, you know, nowadays, how many? What's the concept of you being one person being able to reach everyone in the world by, I think, like two or three contacts, which is insane. Like, I know someone who has direct contact with Obama. I know someone who has direct contact with Dana White. I know someone who has direct contact with. I don't know if I know anyone that has direct contact with Trump, which would be crazy. Um, I mean, crazy, let alone with Obama, but I don't know anyone who has direct contact with. Well, okay, I know someone who potentially has direct contact with Khabib, who then has direct contact with Putin. So pretty crazy. But regardless, what I'm getting at is with the amount, like I said, the amount of access. Hello to the new viewers. Let me know your thoughts in the chat. No one's spoken in the chat yet. I got 3 viewers. Pretty cool. Talking about the primaries mainly, but also I was just mentioning earlier, with the amount of access everyone has in the modern world, if you're not keeping up with, and it's so bizarre, many people are just, glued to their phone 24/7. It's somehow majority of the people, the main way that they only know how to talk is through their phones, and you think people who it reminds me of like the people on Tumblr who are extremely popular, have a big following, yet are extremely quiet, in person. And it's like, dude, and that's exactly where we're at now with majority of people. If we just gotta bring back saying hi to everyone you come past. Don't be afraid to make eye contact with anyone and everyone. Um, it's insane, and no excuse to not knowing who's running what, who's representing your district, who's representing your state. Blah 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 blah. It's the individual has uh, more responsibility now and needs to be held more accountable for being part of their communities. Um, Welcome. Yeah. All right. I guess no one's wanting to talk in the chat. Whatever. Anyways. Let's see. Okay. Dude. Literally, I'm about to go around Boone County because apparently, 10,000, about 11,000 people in Boone County voted for this fucker. Uh, about 9,000 voted for Massey. Oh, yeah, she's got 4,000 votes in Boone. I mean, just the sheer, difference in the amount of votes from Republican and Democrat. She's this fucking Ed guy, dude. Uh, Senate Booker won his, not by much. Amy McGrath, sad. Uh, Andy Barr, Andy Farr, Dick Van Dyke. Oh, what's up? Let's hear your thoughts in the chat. Shameful day in Kentucky. Just for the House, just for the representative. Um, Dude, I mean, how is it that I need to do some research on the state of Kentucky because we have this Democrat governor, yet it's red as hell of a state. Yeah, I mean, regardless, what I'm getting at is shameful day, shameful, shameful, shameful. Let's see what this fucking Ed guy stands for. Douchebag. Always with the national security. Yeah, man. I mean, this is the Guardian article written about this quotes, Massey saying, he said something about, buying the seat. Literally. Um, you know, we'll see what happens. We'll see what sort of, you know, how different it actually is going to be with this guy. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, what we have to remember, I mean, well, not what we have to remember, but what people in general have to remember is that when we are voting for people, uh, we need to make sure, we look at the entire picture of who that person is. I mean, it's just way too complex because we just you're always bound to find something that's a letdown about someone who you stand for. You're always bound to find out something that you do agree with someone that you disagree with more. Um, but yeah, uh, I yeah I don't know. It's obviously too. I mean, Massey has 7 months until he's out of there. So yeah, because obviously this is he lost. This is just a primary, so it's not like it's not like this Ed guy can is just like about to take over until the actual election, until the final election results are in November. Um, God damn, dude, Ohio and Kentucky are blowing it, literally. letting Vivek win, letting Ed win. The Democrats are not going to win. It's insane. It's literally insane. And people who know me know that I am essentially politically homeless. Um, I've not voted uh, because I shouldn't have said that on live. Because and let's talk about it. Okay, I haven't voted mainly because it's clear to me that when it comes to stuff like this, voting, if we're truly talking about the one thing that supposedly gives this country a sense of democracy, there is none. There is no sense of democracy here. Whatever we're talking about, you know, when it comes to a democracy, uh, there is it, there is so much pushback from the establishment to allow there to be any thing close to a true democracy here. Because if that were true, if we did live in a true democracy, the voting would be the only thing. What's up, James? Literally, I mean, looking at the results, and he won. Ed Galrain won by 54% of the votes. Massey won by 41. Massey got 45% of the votes. Um, and it's just so bizarre looking at it you know from each county as well. I mean, don't know. Uh, but yeah, I mean, because one thing I was talking to with my friends earlier, um, is that is how much of an anomaly, Massey was because of essentially what has happened within American politics within arguably the last 5 decades or so. Um, you just start to see people who, well, obviously want to go back to the whole concept of keeping the population essentially you know as you know, with a lack of critical thinking, as incoherent, as trying to make them as incoherent as possible when it comes to important matters like this. The complexity that just comes with, voting and, someone wanting to be in office, so on and so forth. Um, it's just, why I haven't voted. Like I said, there's no individual in my lifetime who has ran for office that has won has affected my life, you know, to the point where I have felt the need to vote. Because, like I said, not a true democracy here. There's some the way I explained it in a message earlier to my friends. I forgot what I specifically said, but I basically said something along the lines of, if how can we even remotely call ourselves a democracy when so much money is thrown at elections, uh, as as much of a purist as I'd like it to be, at the end of the day, is just the progression of voting and how a government is ran and the concept of the people being in charge. Like, does the progression that comes with wanting to get to a place like that, does the degression that comes with that, is that just automatically the corruption that comes with you know elections and stuff? It's insane. um and it's just very demotivating to people when they you know not for someone like myself, but for more average people who don't look this stuff up on a regular basis, who aren't as manic as me when it comes to wanting to find stuff out. um, and you have a large portion of the population who um, who basically looks at who's running for office and decides why they want to vote for that person based off of maybe one or two things they agree on. That and those one or two things they agree with that person that they want to vote for is typically something that directly affects that average individual to the fullest extent. And I was honestly thinking about it earlier when it comes to this stuff because you have, a, a certain percentage of American population who, you know, it's just I don't even know where to start with explaining this. I don't want to call them, I don't want to use any derogatory words or anything like that, but like, the people who, may not be as, connected with, where they come from, where their ancestry comes from. Um, it's, maybe 5, 6 generations of being, an American, and it's just, caused the current individuals who make up American society from that percentage to, just to not care, about anything to, not about anything, but just to not care about for example, my parents, essentially, dude, it has been so fucking magnifying under Trump, like worst I've ever seen. He has seemed to, he has derogatory word. I feel it. No, I get it. No, but I'm talking about so for example, my parents. Um, I've ever since I was little, and politics was talked about at the table and whatnot. I remember my dad saying something along the lines of like, "We vote for people who have good intentions with their policies towards the Middle East." Didn't say those exact words, but basically said something along those lines. And it just has me thinking, even to this day, like, is that like obviously foreign intervention is bad. Why does a country feel the need that they have to have you like they call them policies, Middle East policies, when really they're just like just that's just a very subtle way of saying, hey, we're gonna ransack this part of the world, um, and we're just gonna make it seem like it's legit and legal and stuff. So sad. I like Massey. He won't be dude. I hope something happens. Obviously something realistic. Obviously we'd have to wait for the next election, but gotta pray, gotta pray. It's these times where we gotta just be with you know ourselves and the Lord, and realize that we are going to life in general is going to come with its ebbs and flows of being in dark times and being in light times. So yeah, but regardless, so you think about like why people vote for who they vote for, and is it because they find a majority of things that they can agree with on this person? Is it is has identity politics just taken over completely, where people just vote blue no matter who, or vote red? I don't even know where to go with that one, but um, Trump is cooked in the midterms, dude. We'll see. I mean, I obvious. Well, what running again, third term? Well, I mean, you mean like the Trump back people are cooked in the midterms? Hopefully, hopefully, um, dude. Yeah, I mean, I can't, I can't with this. I literally can't. Um, and I just, every day I wake up, you know, working towards, uh, just being part of the thing that causes uh, that disrupts the establishment to the point of peaceful dissolution, to the point where the power is truly back in the hands of the people. Because this is insane. Like if if we're gonna if the founding fathers are probably rolling around in their graves, you know knowing what shit's like nowadays. Um, they literally created this nation to get away from you know the BS of establishments. It's ridiculous. Anywho, anywho, uh, um, so yeah, I'm glad I'm live. Glad I get the chance to go live tonight. I've been lazy. I haven't really been lazy. I've been planning. I got a TED talk. I got a Table Talks episode going to be recording Saturday morning. That should be cool. And waiting to hear back from this guy that I want to do a Table Talks episode with. He's supposed to be messaging me back tomorrow, so we will see about that. Not what they envisioned. Yeah, literally, not what anyone's envisioning, dude. Um, so, yeah, um, standards. This is the guy that I'm having that I'm interviewing. Not interviewing. We're having a podcast. We're doing a podcast episode on Saturday. We just shared this article today. Donald Trump sued his own administration for $10 billion, then settled that lawsuit by creating a fund to compensate victims of government lawfare. Self dealing has defined this presidency, but the scheme is bad even by Trumpian standards. That was a quote from the article. I mean, it makes sense. Um, what's it high fucking all night? Um, yeah, man. Mm. Shameful day in Kentucky. Shameful, shameful, shameful. Yeah. So, my brother, being the teenager that he is, he just turned 16 last month. Me and my family were talking about it in our family chat. Just like shameful day. And he's like, "It's okay, guys. Keep your heads up." And that's the type of optimism we need. Youthful innocence. It's definitely what gets me through the day. Knowing that there is innocence still out there. Hopefully one day innocence, the purity and the innocence of individuals that we maintain at a young age can be maintained when they're older. Arizona, July 21st. Let's see who's in the Arizona primaries. I am out of here, Zay. Just wanted to say hi. Hang in there, brother. It'll get better. Blue wave is coming. Take care, brother. Peace out, James. Take care. Have a good night. We'll definitely chat here sooner than later. So, yeah. Um, what's up, guys? If you're